Okay, so I'm about to make some meatloaf. I think I might have my skillet here a little too hot, but anyway. So first I'm going to add a half a cup of onions. So these onions were frozen onions. Yeah, the skillet is a little hot. Every time I buy onions for a recipe and I chop them up, I always chop up more than I need and I put the extra in the freezer. And so these were just onions that I already had in the freezer. So this is going to be a vegetable meatloaf. I'm also going to be putting in a cup of mixed vegetables. These are also frozen. And then I'm going to put in some of my minced garlic. I keep forgetting to buy regular garlic, and so I'm using up the last little bit of garlic that I have in my container. Okay. So this recipe is kind of trial and error. I'm going to be making this up as I go along. It's a combination of two recipes that I've made in the past, well over a year ago, and I don't even remember those recipes. So I'm combining two recipes that I don't remember very well. So one recipe, I think these are pretty brown, so I'm going to add in my vegetables. So one recipe was a crock pot recipe where you take 2 pounds of meat and then you add 16 ounces of vegetables and then tomato sauce and some other stuff that I don't remember. And then you let it cook in the crock pot for several hours. And when you do that, it's really delicious. And then it has all of these vegetables in it. I love garlic, so I'm just going to put a lot of it in here. So that's where I got the idea to put these vegetables in my meatloaf. Now another recipe that I know that I've made before is one where instead of using mixed vegetables, you chop up onions and mushrooms and, you know, red bell pepper or green bell pepper, and you saute those together and you put them in your meatloaf with some salsa. And I know that I loved that recipe. So this is going to kind of be a combination of both of those recipes. Okay, please excuse my dogs. Okay, so I finished cooking up the vegetables, and now I'm going to do something that I've never done before. I'm going to use my mini food processor here to puree up these vegetables. So you can see here they're still whole, and I'm going to puree them up in just a minute. When I've made this in the past, I kept the vegetables whole, but that was because I was making a whole loaf of meatloaf, or it was because I was using the muffin, a muffin tin to make my meatloaf. But today I am going to make extra mini meatloaf. So if you can tell, these are very, very, very tiny. And so because they're so tiny, I don't want lumps of vegetables, big pieces of vegetables, because it's so tiny anyway. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm going to puree this up. And so you can either do this step, which I think is going to make everything moist, or you can leave the step out if you're going to make larger size muffins. Let me show you what else I'm going to be putting in here. So my favorite breading are these wasa crackers. I've showed them on a previous video. So I have 2 of them in this bag that I've already crumbled up. So 2 crackers are about 1/4 cup. I am going to be putting some salsa in this meatloaf. That's also going to add a lot of rich flavor and taste, and some more vegetables. Then I have my egg. I have some shredded Parmesan cheese. I have some Worcestershire sauce, however you say that. You can see this. And then I have 1 pound of my ground turkey. Now what I have here is 85%. I was concerned that maybe the 93% would be too dry. I'm not sure, so you can go ahead and try the 93%, but we'll see how this comes out with the 85. Okay, so let me puree this up and I will be right back. Okay, so I already have everything weighed out. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so my turkey is in the bowl. These are the vegetables that I pureed. I tried not to make it too small. You don't want them to be liquefied. So all of this is going in here. Let's see if I can get this all out of here. Okay, so I am using 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, and I just made up these proportions because I don't have a recipe. And then for my salsa, I'm going to use 1/3 cup. And then I'm going to put my egg in here. Probably should beat the egg first, but oh well. Whoops. It'll get all mixed up when I mix everything up. Okay. Now my Worcestershire sauce. I'm just going to put a tablespoon, and I'm using this because I'm using turkey. And I think that turkey doesn't really have a lot of good taste. So this is to add taste to it. If I was using ground beef or pork, I wouldn't use this. That's just me. And then my breadcrumbs or my wasa crackers. And some pepper. You can put a lot in here. And I'm going to put just a little bit of salt. I know the cheese has salt in it and the Worcestershire sauce has salt in it, so just a tiny bit. And now I'm just going to mix all this together. Let me pause it so you don't have to watch this. Okay, so I've mixed everything together, and as I mixed it together, I decided that I hadn't added enough salsa in there. So I had originally said that I was going to add 1/3 cup, but instead it's 1/2 cup that I added, and that will be in the recipe below. So now I like that I can see the chunks of tomatoes in there, so I think this looks really good and moist. Okay, so let me prop this up because now I'm going to put it in this muffin tin. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to use my teaspoon to do this, just so they can be pretty equal in size. So I already had greased this with some olive oil, and now it's going to be 2 tablespoons in each one. And I think this is coming out nicely. I'm not going to do all of these while you're watching. I just did 2. And let me use my other hand to show you. See how it looks? I'm going to do the other ones, and then I'm going to put it in the oven, and I'll see you back when it is all finished. Let me stop this. Okay, I just took the meatloaf out of the oven after 15 minutes on 350. It's probably about 5 or 10 more minutes before it's done. So what I'm going to do now is first I'm going to wipe all of these tops off, and then I'm just going to add some ketchup. Now this ketchup that I am using, I bought from Sprouts. I really liked the stats on it. Let's see. I liked that it had 3 grams of carbs. I think even the reduced sugar one had 3 grams of carbs. So most of these that I looked at, they either had 5 grams of carbs per serving, 4 grams of carbs per serving, and then only a few of them had 3 grams of carbs per serving. So like I said, I'm going to squirt some of this on top of each one of these, and then I'm going to put it back in the oven for maybe about 10 minutes or so. And of course, when I write you the recipe in the description box, I'll tell you exactly how long it took before it was done. Okay, see you when it's done. Okay, so this is the finished product. These 6 muffins are going to go in the refrigerator. This is going to be my lunch for the next 3 days. I weighed them out and they are 1 ounce each. So I should be able to eat 2 of these. And then these are the rest. They're still warm. I'm just putting them in this container to put them in the refrigerator. I could also freeze this container, but I think they'll stick together and it'll be hard for me to thaw out a few at a time. So I'm just going to put this in the refrigerator overnight, and then I'm going to put them in Ziploc bags, 4 or 6 of them at a time. I've frozen meatloaf before and it does come out really well. Actually, something about the freezing process seems to make it extra juicy. So I know that these will taste great coming out of the freezer. The stats will be below. Next, I'm going to be making my shrimp slaw. I guess that's the name of it. I've been thawing out some shrimp while I was cooking this, and so that recipe is to follow. Bye.